With the Metro A and C lines serving customers and the Metro D, B, and E lines planned to open by 2024, Metro Transit is working to identify the next arterial bus rapid transit lines. Bus rapid transit is a special type of bus service that provides frequent service, faster trips, and more amenities at stations. We are using 4 principles to guide this work: advancing equity and reducing regional racial disparities, building on success to grow ridership, designing a network that supports a transit-oriented lifestyle, ensuring the long-term sustainable growth of the bus network. We're using a 4-step process to identify our region's next BRT priorities, with opportunities for public input along the way. Step 1 happened in spring 2020. We identified 19 potential corridors to be considered for BRT. In the summer of 2020, we narrowed 19 candidates down to a set of 11 corridors. We then advanced those 11 corridors for more analysis. In September, we conducted a survey and asked how we should prioritize the lines. Nearly half of respondents said advancing equity was their top priority. This fall, 10 of the corridors advanced in Step 2. We developed concept plans to estimate costs, ridership, and other benefits, and evaluated the lines based on public feedback. Based on that evaluation process, we've prioritized them into 3 tiers for near-term, mid-term, and longer-term implementation. We're now at Step 4, prioritize. Based on evaluation, public engagement, and readiness factors, we will recommend which corridors should be prioritized as the F, G, and H lines for policymakers' consideration and approval. Your input matters. Help us prioritize the top corridors and assign them as the new F, G, and H lines. Go to metrotransit.org/network-next for details and to take a short survey.
Real talk. Real topics. Real solutions. This is MSR Forefront with your host, Stefanetta Harmon.
Good evening, welcome, and thank you for tuning into the latest edition of the MSR Forefront, where we are committed to authentic conversations with elected officials, organizations, and thought leaders on issues pertinent to Black communities in Minnesota and beyond. I am your host, Stefanetta Harmon, and tonight's edition is kind of a special situation. We're doing a pop-up, will be a shorter conversation, and it's sponsored by the Metro Transit Network Next. Metro Transit is seeking input for improving transit services throughout the Twin Cities for a better and safer riding experience. And tonight we're welcoming our guest, Nasser Musa, who is a community engagement officer for Metro Transit. How you doing?
Thank you. Hi. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us this evening. How are you? Let's start there. Good check-in. How are you doing today?
I am doing very well. It's almost halfway through the week. Today is Tuesday, and we're 3 days to go. But I am doing very well. And how about yourself?
I'm well. Thank you so much for asking. Look, we got to Tuesday and you're like, it's halfway through. Let's go. We're gonna,
yeah.
I appreciate that. This is how we are right now. At least you know what day of the week it is, because some of us are struggling out here at home.
I think like when you work from home, it's really very difficult to track of like what is today and what is tomorrow, kind of. Yep.
If it's not on a calendar, I don't know.
It is. Yes.
Well, tonight, you've partnered, the Metro Transit is partnered with the MSR to get the word out on Metro Transit's Network Next initiative. That's the ultimate tongue twister, y'all. The Network Next initiative. And so I just want you to shed some light on what this initiative is and what exactly do you do, or what is your work responsibility with it?
Okay, and thank you so much for having me. And I really appreciate the opportunity to, engage the community and to talk about improving public transportation.
Okay.
So one of the most important things that I do is the engaging people and connecting people to governments and the process, specifically the improvement of public transportation, because that's what I do now.
Okay.
It is very important that people tune in, raise their voice, and actually give us their opinion, what bus should be prioritized and how we engage communities. Because I know COVID-19 made it very difficult for communities to, you know, come in contact with government or hold public events. But
Mhm.
I also really want to know if there is any specific suggestions, or if there's any specific model that is working for any community that we might be incorporating in our outreach.
Mhm.
And we're open for suggestions as well. But what I do overall is engaging the public around informing them what is next Metro Transit looks like.
Mhm.
Not tomorrow, but the next 40 years, because Network Next is 20 years plan. What is the Metro Transit?
Oh, okay.
Yep, it is what is the next 20 years would look like for Metro Transit? How do we provide a faster, reliable public transportation for very rapidly growing population in twin cities? That is what we're trying to get into, engage the communities and seek their feedback.
Okay, so this isn't like safety for tomorrow. This is how you're doing the corridors, like where the buses are going to be going, or how they're going to be rerouted for communities, particularly those of color,
Exactly.
um, and
Yep.
how many Minnesota is really impacted by that. So that's super important to know. And
Yes.
so,
Mhm.
you're also asking for MSR readers to complete a survey on this. What is this survey?
Yes.
What are we doing when we click on this link?
When you click on this survey, you will be helping us evaluating. There are 4 corridors that we are doing right now that we're evaluating for, or
Mhm.
seeking a public opinion or a public survey to give us which bus should be implemented first. And there are 4 routes that we are evaluating for. A
Okay.
Central Avenue. The Central Avenue runs from downtown Minneapolis through to the Northtown Mall. And then we're also asking public. The second one is Como, which is Route 3, runs from downtown Minneapolis to Maplewood. And then Johnson and Lindale Avenue, Route 4, running from Bloomington to Columbia Heights.
Mhm.
And the other one is Rice and Robert, Route 62 and 68, running from Mendota Heights to Little Canada. So
And
these are
that's
the
the
routes.
slide right here.
Yeah, exactly. So these are the routes that we are asking people to give us their own evaluation and why they think which route should be implemented first, and why, and what they think should be the highest priority, and which route should be the highest priority. All these routes are very busy and connect multiple cities and connect people to jobs as well. So it is very important that people let us know what they think, should be prioritized. So it is really important.
Okay, okay.
Yep.
And so this survey, I'm going to just ask if we can come back to us and see this survey. Well, just us talking, right? Perfect.
Right.
So those are the 4 corridors that you're asking. So is there any specific personal data that you're collecting, or is it literally just questions about those corridors?
It is mainly about the corridor, and
Mhm.
also about the. We also ask about the zip code as well,
Mhm.
about income, about race, because
Mhm.
we really want to know what is the response, and like what is the communities of color response looks like in this survey. What are the income? Are they and we're also asking what are they using bus for? Are they mainly using for work, school, or just basic groceries and that kind of stuff? So
Okay.
there are the list of questions in the survey, and asking also about the corridor as well, like
Okay.
why this is their priority, and what they think about which one is should be prioritized. Kind of very
Okay.
straightforward survey. Yep.
And what are you going to do with all this data?
Well, it helped. That's a really good question. It helped us prioritize which route should be implemented first, second,
Mhm.
and third. So, because
Okay.
we will be selecting 3 routes from this, and then implementing those in 2025 and between 2025 and 2030. So
So
those
the
are
first two routes wouldn't be implemented for until 2025 and then 2030.
That's correct. Yes. Yep.
Okay.
But
Okay.
we need that. We need this public opinion right now. We need this public survey to make sure that we capture what people think about which route should be first, second, and
Mhm.
third.
So I'm going to ask, this is a Black newspaper. So my first question is, it's always going to be like, how does this impact Black communities, particularly those with ridership issues, around safety, frequency, being able to connect various cities instead of having to go downtown and get to St. Paul if you're in North Minneapolis, things of that nature. What
Go ahead.
No, so I was just asking, how does this impact that? Are you taking that into account? What's going to happen in
Yes.
5 years? Okay.
That is very, very correct. So
Mhm.
at Mid Council, as you can see if you can put up the slide, 50% of what we do is driven by equity. 50% of
Okay.
like public input is really important. 50%. What that means is what people say and tell us what we should do. It really drives our decision. Basically, connecting people, prioritizing which corridor should be implemented first. And
Okay.
for your question, I believe I can tell you, based on my very personal experience, how this will impact Black communities or communities of low wealth. When I was, relying on the public transportation, I spent more than 11 years on public buses,
Mhm.
going to school, and also my first job, my second job, my third job on public transportation. I like when I was looking at jobs, I was looking at not how much the job pays. I was actually looking at
Can
how
you
can
get
I
there?
get to that job. So
Right.
I mean, is it on the bus line? Is it reliable? Is the bus reliable that takes me there? So
Mhm.
those are really important aspect that we are looking at, connecting people to jobs in the most fastest way and reliable way. Because obviously we know people live in one neighborhood or live in one city and work in maybe like in the next 3 or 4 different cities. So it is very important for us to consider that kind of factor. How do we connect people to jobs as quickly, as reliably, in a safe way? Because I know it is. It takes a lot of time to spend to take buses to go to work. It's quite lengthy planning, and you spend a lot of time away from family. By improving public transportation and making them faster and more reliable and more frequent, it is really increases the equity and it gives people time back to spend with their family, which means connecting people to jobs as quickly as possible from one neighborhood to another, from one city to another, in a very
Okay.
safe way. And that is the most important factor that we can really look into, making sure that we provide that. And the other thing that the new buses will provide as well is that um, longer service hours.
Okay. Because
We
that's
can,
a huge question.
yeah,
Like, it's going to stop running at 10 a.m. or 10 p.m.
I know. I mean, like a lot of people don't stop working at 10 a.m.
At 10 p.m.
At 10 p.m. Some people work way until midnight.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
these buses, the new buses that will be implemented, they run faster, reliable, and very routinely and constantly in a way that it really runs every 10 minutes. And it runs longer hours, or even over the weekends as well, between, I would say, the hours of 4 a.m. to 1
Mhm.
p.m., like way past midnight. So these are really great service for community to increase connection to jobs and also increase the equity as well. And
Okay.
the
So,
other thing that I also want to point out is that this buses serve in a way that is very equitable way, which means it does not really serve uh, the inner city a certain way and then suburban communities in a different way. It
okay.
provides equal service.
So what does thinking of equitable, right? Because
Yeah.
it's been a long-standing issue with bus service and how it reaches the, urban communities, Black communities, poorer communities. What does Metro Transit look at when they're saying equity? Like, what does that mean for them? Because there are some communities will tell you, like, to get to St. Paul is going to take a really long time from North Minneapolis. I may not feel safe getting on the bus in downtown Minneapolis, or I might get to downtown St. Paul and get stuck there and not be able to get home. So what are those things that you look at when you're talking equity? Like, just so we can all be on the same playing field, because so everyone tuning in right now, we're speaking with Nasser Musa with Metro Transit. See, I got your name right. Yes,
Yeah.
with Metro
You got my
Transit
name right. Yeah.
Network Next, and we're
Yep.
talking about the new initiative to make buses more equitable. Let's just be real: buses, light rail, the whole situation more equitable for communities in Minnesota. And so right now we're talking equity and what that looks like, and what are the I know it's 50%, but what is that 50% really made of for the communities? You mentioned frequency. What are some of the other things?
Well, I think the ways we move more
Mm,
people in a safe and reliable way,
okay.
that's one of the aspect of equity, because I think moving people in a quick and reliable way would really help people to like increase their connection to jobs, and
Mhm,
then provide more reliable public transportation. Because, like I said, I think there aren't a lot of people who are willing to, buy or have their own public transportation. I mean, their own private transportation. I think understanding how people use public transportation and improving and investing in public transportation is one of the most important element of increasing equity, because improving how people get around, improving how people feel safe around taking buses between one city to another, and also making the buses more faster
mhm.
by really providing the option where the buses could stop every widespread around, and provide very frequent services to community.
Okay.
Those are the aspect of equity that we look into.
Okay. And so if we complete this survey, we'll be able to add our voice to this conversation. And are you getting the Black voice right now in this conversation? Have you already gotten it, or is like you really at a deficit and working harder to get more of us to join in this
We
conversation?
really need the community voices.
Okay.
It is very critical. I think I can't say enough how important it is to hear the community aspect. What do they think about the
Mhm,
priorities around public transportation? It's sometimes it's very obvious that a small vocal communities or small vocal groups raise their voice and decide what
mhm,
needs to be prioritized. But I think engaging a larger community and being intentional about how we engage and being intentional who we engage is really very important, and increases our landscape of equity in, and also understanding the community as well. So it is really very important that we hear the community voice in this survey.
okay. I
Yeah.
would love, I know we got to these slides, but I would love to come back to the map slide. And if you could really explain what that means, like what's the difference with these corridors? Like you mentioned Central, like I know that's Northeast, the South Central Route 10. What is different about this particular route?
It just serves a different area, and it serves different cities, and to connect people in the different cities. So that is the only different, and also the density as well. That is the one thing that I also mention
Mhm.
point out, is that the density of the people that are living in this across this corridor, or on this corridor, and in these cities. So those are the differences. It might
Okay.
not be the same people who live in like a along the lines of Route 10 versus people who live along the lines of Route 3, Como and Maryland.
Mhm.
So it's the density, and also the number of people that live in that area.
Okay. And then are there any buses in these proposed routes that are connecting areas that had never been connected before?
Some of them are no, most of them are connected, but I think speeding up in a way that these are connected is important.
Okay.
Because if it takes you from Minneapolis to get to the Northtown Mall about, I would say, 50 minutes, 40 to 50 minutes, and if we cut down that by providing really fast and reliable transportation that takes like 30 minutes, I think that is a significant progress. So it is just
Okay.
mainly about increasing the speed and also increasing the efficiency and reliability as well.
Okay. And can we see what those differences are in the service on that survey, or do we have to go somewhere else? Like, is there
You can
another link that we should check out?
mostly the people can find on the website, but I think
Mhm.
the most different is the key destination,
Okay.
where from where to where. So those are the key differences.
Okay. And
Yep.
I'm going to come over to our comments because folks are going ham in here as well. I know that you can't answer all of these questions at this moment in time, but somebody's asking, we've seen the metro fares go up and increase, and someone's asking, why isn't it free and covered by tax dollars? So is there something that you can address related to that and the Metropolitan Council, or
This is really a great question. While I can't answer that question right now, but I
Mhm.
think investment in public transportation is always kind of complicated because it involves multiple layers of funding. Some come from local government, some come from a state government, county, and some come from federal government as well. So there are some layers of funding that involved, but I don't know exactly how it could be free. Maybe there's ways, but I think
Mhm.
you can, if you think of some way that it is that it could be run efficiently and effectively and free. We would really love to hear that voice. But I think, as you know, public transportation is always come with a lot of
Mhm.
politics as well, because some people in metro area may say, yeah, this is what we want, and some people outside of metro area may say, no, this is not what we want, this is not my tax dollar, it shouldn't be funded by my tax dollar. So there's always some politics around this as well. So but generally speaking, it is kind of complicated. I will be happy to um, you know give you a specific answer to that if that's needed.
Understood. I mean, but that's a question that folks are going to ask because we also want to know, just like if it's
I
not
understand.
free, the prices are going up, can we get to where we need to get to, right? And then I know that this is about the survey, and folks, please, click on that link, add your voice to this conversation. There's also still issues of safety. Is this addressing any of that in the next 5 years? I know I've personally experienced some issues on the bus when I lived downtown Minneapolis. And just wondering, what does that look like in terms of, especially if it's going to be more frequent ridership, if it's going to be later night service, what are the things that we can expect to see that will also keep us safe as we are riding later at night?
Right. I think that's really very important question. There is always safety
Can I get
question,
you to
and there's
come in the
always
frame? Get you to
right.
come
There's
in the
always
frame?
hmm?
Can I get you to come into the frame a little bit? Just move over to the right just a little bit so I can
Oh,
get you. Yes, that way. Yes, perfect. Thank you.
okay, good. So I mean, the safety question is always there. It is something
Mhm.
that the Metro Transit takes really very seriously about making sure that passengers and riders the bus operators are safe. So this is something that as organization there's always discussion around this issue, and there's always what can be done and what needs to be done. So there are some really great internal and ongoing discussion around this topic, but it's something that is taken very seriously. That's what I really want to ensure people know. It
Mhm.
is not something that we just don't consider as something very lightly. It is something that the Metro Transit takes very seriously and have a always ongoing internal discussion. And I think sometimes making the space safe requires all of us working together and also working with the community as well, because sometimes engaging community and making sure that people know what to do and how to ride and what to expect, it is a way of increasing public safety as well. and working with multiple stakeholders.
And what is the weight then of what weight will be put on the voices from this survey? I know a lot of times there's surveys done and there's a date, there's a report that's released that says this many people did this, but then we go somewhere else. And so what weight will the voices from the community have on the direction that you go within these 4 corridors?
It really helped us, guide
Mhm.
in a how we make a decision in the next step. So it
Okay.
is really very important. Your voices really matter, and it's really very important how we will make a decision, or how staff make recommendation. We will incorporate a lot of opinion about this survey and make that recommendation. So it is really very important. I would
Okay.
say, please do it and help us get to the next level.
Okay. And we got
Yep.
a couple finance questions in here as well. We're talking jobs, we're talking economic impact. So I'm going to try to put these a little bit together, but we're looking at jobs. Well, how many jobs is there? Is there a space somewhere we can look at how many jobs will be created in this expansion? And then it will even those jobs be solicited, or how will that impact communities of color, particularly in terms of when you start to building whatever this is or hiring out?
Right. I don't have exact number, but one thing
Mhm,
that I really know though,
mhm,
is that the public transportation is not just moving machine, or
mhm,
moving, machines on the public road. These are really lifelines for a lot of working people.
mhm,
Either connecting them to jobs, not only obtaining a job, but also obtaining and retaining a job, to make sure that they really keep that job moving. And
mhm.
that's one way of estimating the economic development of public transportation. It
Okay.
is really very critical that communities understand how when I was riding public transportation, I was not really thinking sometimes about how my job is really rely on public transportation every day, even though that was the reality. But I think I know from my own personal understanding that the public transportation is lifeline for a lot of working people who may not be able to afford to buy in the cars.
Mhm.
But I don't have how many jobs this construction in these buses will create. But definitely that will be something that I definitely can look into.
Follow up on. Yes.
Yes.
We're going to ask later about that. So as soon as you guys decide what it is that's going to be built, we can come into that conversation. And then I know we don't have so much time left, but I know folks are also wondering what happens after the survey. When does the survey close, first of all?
20th.
January 20th?
Yep. The survey
Okay.
will be closing January 20th, and then we will go through evaluation of the survey and put our recommendation to the council, and they will consider and move to the next step, and
Okay.
do consider which route should be implemented, when and where.
Okay, and how else
Yep.
can we engage or get involved in any other decision making? Because I know even this quarter, there's some steps that already happened, and now you're at
Uh,
this point. How do we connect?
sign Right. Signing up for Network Next on the website is really
Mhm,
important, because once you sign up for but for the information, we will provide you the update where each project is are. You can sign up for every project on the metrotransit.org and find a lot of information where the things moving around, and you can definitely send us your voice all the time.
okay,
Yep.
awesome, awesome. Well, thank
Hmm.
you so much, Nasser. Is there
Yeah.
anything else that you'd want to share about this initiative? Wait, before we go, folks, if you do fill out the survey, because we know we all need some apples and some carrots and some incentives here. If you fill it out, the Metro Transit is giving away 3 monthly bus passes for a random. At random, we don't choose who it is, but at random, 3 people will be selected to receive a monthly bus pass, which again is a lifeline, as you said, to many, and to get food, groceries, to be able just to move around the city if they don't have a car at this moment. So that's super important. Yeah, so Nasser, is there anything else that you would like to add before we close out in this conversation?
I think I would emphasize that, public transportation is really a lifeline for a lot of people, and it is important to make sure that community voices are being weighed in and will continue improvement, because I know the public transportation has been always incremental improvement, because we come from long way from the horse car to the this moment is really very important. So I think it is really critical that communities involve, sign up for information, and help us if they have any better way that we can engage. We will be happy to come and make presentation and continue engaging that way as well. So it is very important, and we really would love to see your voice in this survey.
Awesome. Thank you so
Yep.
much, Nasser. Again, Nasser Musa with Metro Transit Network Next initiative. Thank you so much for sharing your voice with us this evening. All again, please tap the link in the comments to complete the survey and to add your voice as well. And again, tonight's edition was sponsored by Metro Transit Network Next. Metro Transit is seeking input for improving transit services throughout the Twin Cities for a better and safer riding experience. Thank you so much. Thank you for tuning into MSR Forefront, and we look forward to bringing you more conversations related to the Black community. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks a lot.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much for having me. Bye.
Bye.